an icebreaker question.
Okay.
It's kind of simple. How long have you been a principal?
13 long years.
What college did you attend?
I attended Tennessee State University, which is a historical black college, and I went there because of a track scholarship. So I'm a Tennessee State Tiger Belle, and the coach that coached me also coached Wilma Rudolph. So he produced over 30 Olympians. I just came back from my university, and so Tennessee State Tiger Bells were an intricate part of segregation in women's athletics back in the day.
What did you major in, and like what year did you go?
So I'm not telling you my
No.
year. That makes me old. Are you crazy? So I got my undergraduate in health, physical education, and recreation, and then I got my master's in administration and supervision. So yeah.
Well, you brought up our later questions already. How did you manage to balance track and school?
So it wasn't an option when I was in school. You had academics and you had athletic, and Coach Temple gave us grades. So you had an academic grade and an athletic grade which equaled your curfew time. So I maintained a 3.8 GPA in college. I had a B average on the track because on my team alone there were 3 Olympians already that were my age. So you really had to prove yourself. So it's your time management. So I knew that if I didn't have good grades, I would lose my scholarship. If I didn't run well, I would lose my free education. So it's not optional. You have to have both.
Do you have any what's the word?
Regrets?
No, not yet. No. Do you have any words of wisdom to say, like any
So
thing you would like?
education is the key to everything. You know, the key to your freedom is what I call it. And it can be a struggle. You know, in high school it can be a struggle, in college it can be a struggle, but if you have your education, you already know you're going to make $10,000 more than someone who doesn't have an education. And how you get it and how long it takes is irrelevant. It's just important to me that people understand how valuable your education is. I coached boys for 18 years. I had my own track team. Produced high school All-Americans. 3 of my athletes are Olympians. But the reason I started coaching wasn't to win. I knew I was going to win because all you do is cultivate the athlete. The reason I started coaching is because I was concerned that kids really, minority kids, were not going to school. And they didn't realize that they could go to school. And so I started it. And then it just grew with all kids, you know. I didn't care what color you are. I didn't care where you came from. I just knew that you needed your education. So I put 187 kids in school on full scholarship. That's the reason I coached, to get the education.
So going back to you, what sparked your personal interest in track?
Actually, when I was growing up, I had 3 younger brothers. And it was my responsibility to go home after school and to pick them up, okay? Though one of my brothers is a year behind me, he got to do all athletics because he was a guy. So I decided that I would try track and gymnastics. Those were my 2 fields, and I enjoyed them both. But because I had to pick up my younger brothers, I couldn't train with the girls' track team. I trained with the boys' track team, which made me work even harder. And so one day when I was in the 6th grade, my father came to watch me run, and he said, "You didn't tell me you could run that fast." I was like, "You never asked me. I just ran." And so then from that point on, they understood the importance of running and gymnastics in my life.
What's your life like outside of school?
So, as you may or may not know, I lost my husband 9 years ago to a heart attack. Very devastating for me and my daughter. And I have two daughters. My first daughter, my oldest daughter, is a foster child that I took in at 7 years old, that my husband and I took in. She had other family members, she had siblings, and I kind of got to know her because she was the same age as my niece, and I felt like, what's one more kid? And at that time I didn't have kids, so what's one more kid to take to the movies? What's one more kid to go get ice cream with? And so as we grew in our relationship, when it was time, her family decided that they couldn't take care of everyone. And so I really convinced my husband that I needed to take this young lady because I coach all these boys and girls, so what's one more child to me? So I took her in. She was with us until the courts make you give them back to their family. But we did. We gave her to her grandparents, but every weekend, every holiday, every summer break, she stayed with us. So it was the only time she was not here is Monday through Friday because she had to go to school. Other than that, and then when she got to high school age, she came back to us. Her grandmother asked us if we would take her for high school, and we did. So then I had my own child. So right now it's just my daughter, who is a sophomore at Delaware State University. So when my husband died, it was truly a juggle of being a principal and being a mom. And it would have been easy for me to stay in the bed and say, I'm done. I'm just done with it all because it was so much. But I needed to show my daughter that in life, everything doesn't go the way you plan. There's tragedies, there's ups and downs, but you have to go on. You have to put one foot in front of the other. And so, with that being said, I would come to work, and I would work, and then about 3:30, I would get my car and I would drive to Alexandria where I live, pick my daughter up from school, and come back here and work some more. And she would do her homework at the table. So we became a balance for one another. And I have to say the support of family, friends, staff members here at Freedom, that's what got me through probably the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. It's still hard. It is a balance, because you got to do everything. When you're just a single mom, you got to do everything, But I'm very blessed to have a daughter who understands what I do because she didn't ask to be a principal. I did. So she never complained when she had to come here. Even on a Saturday, I would get up and say, sorry, I got to go to work. She's like, okay. And she would come. She might work the concessions. It's just a matter of trying to balance and do both jobs the best you can, and a lot of prayer and a lot of sweat and tears some days, but you do what you have to do.
Would you like for your kids to follow in your footsteps?
Like be a principal?
Or like, so far I've learned that you're pretty hardworking. Like,
yes,
yeah,
it's not optional in our house.
Right.
My daughter knows that. Both of my daughters know that. My house, you're a visitor in my house, which means you have to go out, get your degree or get your job, because eventually you have to take care of me. You have to have your own. Not that I won't let, if they call to say, can I, I want to save money, can I stay here? As long as you got a job and doing what you're supposed to do and respect my home, that's fine. But you can't stay here forever. That's a no. No, you got to have your own.
Have you done or fulfilled everything in your life that you hoped for?
No. Some of the things I'd still like to do. I want to skydive. That's on my to-do list. I want to finish up my doctoral work. I like doing a lot of outreach, so I do want to, one of my goals, I want to establish a track team with student athletes that are in juvenile detention. That's one of my last goals, because their athletes are there, but they have to be on this team. you have to get your education. So